uh, and I, take this opportunity to welcome all the participants and all the industry speakers and the leaders to this webinar on the EV related market and value chain. This program is a result of our ongoing cooperation with III, Taiwan, and our continuous efforts to bring our companies together and to collaborate for mutual benefit. We think that these webinars are very valuable and they, add a lot of, value for the Taiwanese and the Indian companies to come together and gives a forum, for us to, network. My special thanks to all who have made this possible. More than a year on, the coronavirus disease pandemic continues to dominate our lives. Despite the successful development of vaccines, the end of the pandemic is not in sight as yet, though luckily our numbers are declining and our economy seems to be back on the rebound. More than 1 year on, now that we are looking at some positive signs, I think we need to move ahead with positivity. India and Taiwan, like all countries, have to devise recovery policies to help build resilient and more inclusive and sustainable economies. That, I feel, now is the challenge that we as the human race has to face. A silver lining which I would like to share with everybody, though you may be aware, but especially for our Taiwanese friends, is that India, in the year 2020, received $64 billion worth of FDI, which was 27% more than what we got in 2019, and the 5th largest inflow in the world. And this is in spite of the fact that the COVID-19 second wave has hit the country quite heavily, but our economic activity is resilient and the fundamentals seem to be showing a lot of optimism. With those few words, I would like to take this webinar forward. As we all know that this is the India-Taiwan Electronics Cooperation Meet, and we are focusing on the opportunities in Indian EVs market and battery technology to power the EV industry. This is a very exciting subject, and I think with a lot of good opportunities in the very near future. We are very thankful to all the speakers whom we'll be introducing as they come on and speak. But I think the program is available on the website and on the forum as those for those who are participating. I would like to first introduce Mr. Stanley Wang, my very close colleague from III Taiwan. Stanley is the Deputy Director General of the International Division of III, which is the Institute for Information Industry and part of the Ministry of Economic Affairs. He is responsible for planning and coordinating technology cooperation between III and its global partners. Mr. Wang also serves as a representative for III in IoT Forum and Morgenstad, the City of Future Initiative. Earlier, he served as Secretary General of APEC Digital Opportunity Center. In summary, Mr. Wang plays an active role in bilateral cooperation projects between Taiwan government and other countries, offering Taiwan's expertise in IT industry development, talent cultivation, and technology development. He has received higher education in top US universities and holds a MS degree in Computer Information Systems from the City University of New York and a MS degree from the University of Columbia. Over to you, Stanley, for the opening remarks from III Taiwan. Thank you.
Thank you, Raju, for the kind introduction. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, good morning and good afternoon. On behalf of the Institute for Information Industry, III Taiwan, I would like to express my sincere appreciation to our co-organizing partner, Elsina, especially Mr. Vasani, President of Elsina, and all the colleagues from Elsina for their effort in making today's event possible. I would also like to thank all the speakers from India and Taiwan for attending today's webinar out of their busy schedules. Year 2021 is indeed a year of great challenges to people of India and Taiwan. Both countries have made great efforts try to put the COVID-19 under control, but we know it's still some way back to the normal life we are accustomed to. But we firmly believe the impact of the pandemic can be seen as the catalyst for stimulating new innovations and technology development. Industry should take this opportunity to prepare for the new normal and working to improve their product and services with cutting-edge smart technologies. Under the worldwide consensus of sustainable global development and promotion of energy saving, the development of EVs have become an important policy for many countries to reduce the carbon emissions. We believe that EVs will gradually become the mainstream of the auto industries. In addition to the big OEMs, automakers who continue to invest considerable resources in the development of EV, Taiwanese ICT companies had also begun to enter the EV-related industry with great fanfare. For example, Foxconn, who have invested heavily in industry India for many years, has also established the MIH Make It Happen alliances. Currently has more than 1,600 members worldwide, including many renowned international companies. Besides, under the leadership of our Ministry of Transportation, their two e-buses national teams have also been formed, and it has recently obtained the Saudi Arabia's approval to participate in the Saudi Vision 2030 projects. India is the world top 5 auto producing countries, only behind United States, China, Japan, and Germany. In order to reduce the environmental hazard caused by the air pollution, India has implemented the National Electric Mobility Mission Plan, which include buses, light commercial vehicles, two-wheeler and three-wheelers. In order to reach the goal that only EV will be sold after 2030, India has shown to the world that its huge business opportunity and potential in EVs, which drive manufacturers all over the world to join for the competitions. We hope that through continuous exchanges like today's webinar between our two industries, both sides can better understand and develop closer partnerships, especially under the strong global competition and the rapid shift of the supply chains. Finally, I would like to wish today's meeting a success. Companies from both sides are able to find their suitable partners for the future. Thank you for your participation. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Stanley. Thank you for those wonderful opening remarks and to highlight our cooperation in this field of EV industry. I would now like to invite our president, Mr. Paresh Vasani. He's the president of Elsina and the managing director of PCB Power Market. Mr. Vasani is an entrepreneur par excellence who has established the PCB Power Market company in India and in the US, which is a leading manufacturing and assembly company of printed circuit boards. They have state-of-the-art manufacturing facilities in Gujarat, in India, and in California. Mr. Vasani's vision is to empower innovation in the electronics industry in India and in the US by providing manufacturing support to hobbyists in small, medium, and large enterprises in India and in the US. So, essentially, the company does a lot of R&D and innovation and brings these services to the PCB industry. PCB Power Market is one of the most popular brands in the PCB industry in India, selling various PCB services and other products on its state-of-the-art e-commerce platform. Mr. Vasani is also a mentor and is a chartered member and on the board of the Governing Council of TAI Ahmedabad chapter. Mr. Vasani has also served as the president of the Indian Printed Circuit Board Association. Welcome, Pareshji. Over to you for your remarks, please. Thank you.
Thank you, Rajuji. Thanks for the kind introduction. Ni hao. Good morning, good afternoon to our friends in Taiwan. I am just going to go through some of the slides that I have prepared to understand and give you an idea. First of all, I would like to also welcome Mr. Manwani, our Elsina colleague and the immediate past president, Mr. Babu, Mr. Arya, Mr. Paul Lean, and Mr. Jim Chan. We welcome you in this webinar. As Mr. Wang said, that the new norm of doing business is something that we as a human have to adapt. And this kind of a webinar are part of accepting the new norm. However, from the Elsina point of view, we always miss the personal and close interactions that we have been doing it before COVID, either in Taiwan or in India. We hope that it becomes a reality again in near future. Rajesh, next please. So let me just give you the background about the Elsina activities with regards to Taiwanese companies. We started our first Elsina member delegations in Taiwan, and we've been doing it since 1998, which is a very long time, and then we have been getting a lot of fruits out of it every year whenever we interact with Taiwanese companies and Taiwanese friends. We signed the first MOU with TIMA in 1999, and it is still continuing, and our relationships are increasing ever since. We have a very strong partnership with TPCA, TCA, and TDUA. Last 7 years, before COVID, from 2013 to 2019, regular Elsina delegations are taking place. We visit various shows in Taiwan like Taitronics, Computex, and TPCA. Elsina also organized India-Taiwan Electronics Meet from 2015 to 2019. And hopefully post-COVID, we will continue with more energy and more vengeance to cover it up for last 2 years pandemic. Elsina also established India desk, our first desk outside India to support companies from both the countries. And we also created and launched a special website to cater to this initiative. The special report investment manual was prepared by Elsina. It is available in both English and Chinese language. Chinese translation courtesy TIMA. So that shows our close partnership with TIMA and other industrial bodies. We also signed an MOU for Institute of Information and Industry, III, Government of Taiwan, for mutual cooperation, and our relationship with the III is increasing ever since. And we are very thankful to III for the same. Working regularly with Institute III on research and industrial promotions and other events are part of our mutual activities that we conduct on a regular basis. Next, please. As we are here for understanding and exploring possibilities on EV, let me just give you a little bit idea. I'm sure we have a very distinguished speakers who are going to cover on these topics, and we will learn a lot from them. But I'm just trying to put Elsina perspective on this very quickly. In February 2017, as Mr. Wang said, India started a report through Niti Aayog, our apex body on policy making at the government of India, how electrical vehicles could be a new game changer for India's mobility and could replace most traditional automobiles by 2030. I believe typically in electronics industry, like India has lagged behind its counterparts in many ways, and we call it as a missing the bus syndrome. I'm sure that in EV scenario, we have not missed the bus. At the most, we have missed the first seat of the bus, and which we are going to catch up pretty soon. And India and government is working very hard on it. Obviously, government strongly believes that EVs are going to be the future, and we will catch it up pretty soon. From the period of 2017 to 2019, There has been intense discussions going on to making a policy framework and to make sure that our EV story is right and from the day one. And a lot of efforts are being made for the same thing. Global players are already making plans for Indian market, and emergence of Indian entrepreneurs and startups are taking huge lead. A lot of investments are coming on the startups. A lot of new technologies are being developed in India for India. Global players are also becoming part of the supply chain. And one of the recent development that has happened, which is very encouraging for India, is Tesla has decided to enter into Indian market, and they already established a subsidiary company, and some activities in R&D and other things are happening. And I'm sure we will have a very positive and series of new information coming up from Tesla in near future. There has been lots and lots of money being funded for the startups, especially in EV market, and everybody is making sure that they jump on these opportunities. EV ecosystem players are emerging, and I believe EV ecosystem is the main backbone of making this happen successfully, not only in India but anywhere in the world. And it comprises of battery manufacturing, EV charges infrastructure, EV chargers manufacturing, motor manufacturers, electronics firms making battery management systems, and so on and so forth. Next, please. Few more points on this thing. I will try to cover it up quickly. Government of India has come up with FAME 2 policies, which is started incentivizing the EV industry on policy making, ease of doing business, financial assistance, and etc. EV incentives largely to fund the public transportation of mobility, and hence this saw a tendering of already 5,500 EV buses in major cities. I think government has started taking a very interesting approach. They are trying to make sure that the mass mobility market, public transportations are priority, which I think is the right step to do. The buses, the rickshaws, and other mode of public transportations are priority for government of India, especially on EV scenario. India is, as Mr. Wang said, the 5th largest automobile manufacturing country, and it's growing at a very decent pace. So we are making sure that the 3-wheelers and 2-wheelers are getting due attention and due recognition for EV market from day one. Apart from e-rickshaws and which is very highly unorganized market, the other market segments are also covered under these EV infrastructure policies. 2-wheelers, for example, and certain private players are also getting into this, especially in the 4-wheelers. I will go through that next, please. The private player that I was talking about, Suzuki, is likely to launch its own electrical vehicle sometimes in very near future, and that should change the game in the large scale of manufacturing for 4-wheelers. Our homegrown player Tata Motors have already started manufacturing EV in India, and there is a lot of success. Other international players are MG, Audi. They are also launching and have launched their EV models. Of course, not made completely in India, but as the volume pickups, I think it will be also going to get some traction on it. Some numbers with 2.1 to 2.5 million vehicle projections. Even if we have to taking a realistic estimate based on the time frame, around 1 million electric cars by 2026, factoring a much higher fleet component is feasible. With 88,500 bus projections, a realistic estimate again of 50,000 electric buses by 2026, factoring in a much higher intra-city bus component, imminently feasible. With a 10.6 million electrical 2-wheelers projections, even if we have the realistic estimate of 5 to 6 million 2-wheelers by 2026, 675,000 electrical 3-wheelers a realistic approach of 400,000 to 500,000 is feasible. For 1.5 million e-rickshaw, which is, I believe, is feasible, and it's going to happen in near future. So a lot of possibilities and projections. Next, please. So thank you very much for these numbers. I'm sure we will touch upon this in details. We have very distinguished speakers, and I'm sure they will enlighten all of us, and it will open up a new opportunity for our companies in India as well as our friends and counterparts in Taiwan. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Pareji, for that overview on the industry. We are, of course, looking for a lot more in-depth information coming from our expert speakers. And I'm delighted to welcome Mr. Mahesh Babu, the CEO of Mahindra Electric. Maheshji, thank you very much for accepting our invitation. You have been on our forum earlier also, and it has been an absolute delight. You, I know, are one of the experts in this area who has been working on this, in this particular domain for a very long time. I will, very quickly introduce you, though it's not easy because your achievements are, rather extensive. Mr. Mahesh Babu is currently the CEO.
You can skip it.
Sorry.
You can skip the introduction. Name is sufficient.
Okay, I'll try to be brief, but because then I'll have to skip for everybody, and that may not be fair. So I have, Mr. Babu is the current CEO of Mahindra Electric, which is part of the $19.4 billion global federation of Mahindra Group. He has got, distinguished educational, educational credentials. He is a Fulbright scholar and has completed his leadership in management from the Tepper School of Business, Carnegie Mellon University. He also holds a postgraduate degree in engineering from BITS Pilani. Mr. Babu has, taken a leadership position in Mahindra Electric, which has launched 6 new electric vehicles and the mobility platform NEMO, which stands for Next Generation Mobility, and thereby shaped the solutions of the future of mobility through path-breaking initiatives. Mr. Babu has also, has been with the group for 22 years now and has worked on a number of R&D projects. I will not go into the details, but I think he has, really served and taken a very central position in the auto business of Mahindra. Over to you, Maheshji, and we are expecting to hear from you on the Indian EV industry and the policy framework. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Raju Goyal. Thanks everyone, and I hope in this pandemic times each one of you and your loved ones are safe. I'm not going to take much on slides, but I want to just give an overview on an opportunity what auto industry is going through. Basically, if you look at auto industry is going through a transformation into electric, autonomous, shared, and we are talking about many more, and electric, of course. And in this transition, I think the effort needed to develop an automobile earlier used to be about automobile technology about 70%, and electronics and software used to be 30%. With EVs and connectedness on the way forward, I'm seeing the effort needed to develop an automobile in software and embedded system is going to be about 70%. And actually the development of automobile is going to flip to 30%. So, and hence this gives a huge opportunity for the electronics industry to play a vital role. You all know that India is one of the leaders. While manufacturing, we may lag in electronic parts, but the software and embedded knowledge of Indian IT industry is humongous, and we play a very vital role globally. Thanks to the LCNA members who have called me here, automotive always is in a transition from a mechanical industry to a software and electronics industry, and this is the right place. As Mr. Paresh Vasani has talked about, India has taken a very clear leapfrog approach in electric mobility directly to battery electric vehicle rather than going through hybrids and other technologies, which is the right thing to do. And this slide is to just give you confidence. Basically, two-wheeler industry is about 15 to 17 million. Last year, it was down because of the COVID. Three-wheeler industry overall is about 600,000, but due to COVID, it was about 200,000 last year. And four-wheeler industry is typically about 3 million. That add up to the whole 25 million, and 80% of the numbers comes from two-wheeler. And we have a large requirement of buses, which my colleague will talk about. What I can talk about is, while the industry is down, let's say by three-wheeler by 60% last year, actually the EV industry grew up by 30%. So clearly says there is a customer shift towards electric vehicle, particularly in commercial segment like three-wheelers, because three-wheeler customers are not going to buy three-wheelers just because of environment or let's say their care towards environment or society. These are commercial customers who come and earn their livelihood by driving these vehicles. And we as Mahindra has done a very clear value proposition to customers in this segment and proved that electric is not only friendly for environment, but also will make the customers to earn more money due to lower operating cost of electric vehicles. That's why we are seeing a huge shift in three-wheelers. The Indian government recently has announced a huge increase in subsidy for two-wheelers, because Indian government clearly knows that about 50% of the fuel used in the country is used by two-wheelers, and hence they want to bring electric mobility there. And that's a huge number and opportunity. That means if assume in next a decade of 10 years, where this 17 million is expected to go to about 22 million, you will have so much opportunity for electric, which is will have hardwares and softwares related to electronics, and that's a huge opportunity potential in that segment. We are also talking about the new age mobility which is coming in, and all of them are going to be favorable to electric and electronics. Yeah, go ahead to the next slide, please. Now, why we are saying India is at the cusp of EV revolution? Because there is first time we are seeing as government, industry, and the consumers are working in what I would say in a cohesive way to adapt electric mobility, which is not typically seen in auto industry. Auto industry is typically seen or arm twisted by the government by regulations, and we normally resist. But in this category, I think everybody is in the same page. Auto industry is in favor of government transitioning to electric mobility and launching new products in two-wheelers, three-wheelers, four-wheelers, and even buses. It also gives a lot of opportunity for startups. I think EV gives a lot of opportunity for startup because of the shift from mechanical engineering kind of design of a vehicle towards more of electric and software driven electronics and software driven approach to development. Now, there are a huge incentives in India, not in only fiscal, because we have a demand incentive, we have a manufacturing incentive, and also non-fiscal incentive which are there. We have a 10,000 crore outlay of FAME subsidy given for demand incentives for all the vehicles being bought. Recently, government has increased the incentive for two-wheelers. What is very heartening for us to see is typically India is a federal country. Both central federal government and the state governments have different policies. Indian states, almost 15 plus states, have already announced a state EV policy to promote electric vehicles. Very recently, Gujarat government has announced additional subsidy over on demand over the national subsidy, and hence this will add up to the additional subsidy, like Delhi government or many more governments who are promoting demand subsidy for adoption of electric vehicles. There are also government incentive on tax rebates. For example, electric vehicles are at 5% GST against a regular automobile between 18% to up to 45%. We have free permits, there are registration, waive off, and many more state government benefits are available. I would also say government has announced a very substantial package for battery manufacturing, for local manufacturing of cells, and to a tune of 18,000 crore incentive. This is based on production-based incentive, running up to almost five years to a decade. It's being given for advanced cell chemistries. And I was told the electronics industry is already giving an industrial subsidy for electronics, which can be used for other electronics manufacturing like motor controllers and other parts which can be done, also can leverage between auto industry and other electronics industry. We also have phased manufacturing program in India, because Indian government wants make in India for such components when we adopt electric mobility. So if you want to qualify for this subsidy, then there is a very clear local manufacturing content issued by government of India. I think this will help the electronics industry come and manufacture in India, because the auto industry, if we buy locally manufactured electronic parts, we then qualify for the vehicle subsidy, which is the demand subsidy for eligible to the customers, and hence our product cost will come down. So this will help Taiwanese companies and other to come and invest in India and make relevant electronic parts here. Today we are having a serious challenge to specific electronic parts like MOSFETs, capacitors being imported. Today, while we make the PCBs in India, we still have challenges to get electronic components. And if that can be looked at and the battery cell manufacturing can be looked at, it will really help the auto industry. Similarly, we have non-fiscal schemes, which is like we have a special green number plate. There is a special scrappage policy which will help electric. There is a charging standard normalization. There is also a campaign awareness program announced by Government of India on electric mobility to raise the pride of the people who drive electric mobility in India. So to sum up in the last slide, please. Next slide. To sum up, I see the next decade, auto industry is going to shift towards electric mobility in a big way. Between 2020 and 2030, we expect a huge 30 to 40% of electric mobility adoption in two-wheelers, up above 50% in three-wheelers, about 3 to 10% in electric four-wheelers. And there is a substantial procurement initiative done on buses by Indian government, for which my colleague will talk about. So the demand towards electric mobility is going to create a lot of local manufacturing because of the phased manufacturing program announced by Government of India to avail the subsidy. And this will give a lot of opportunities for both Indian companies and also Taiwanese companies to look at manufacturing in India, their technology to supply to auto manufacturing. And this number is going to be like 22 million is the opportunity in next 10 years per annum is the whole auto industry. And even if you take substantial adoption of two-wheeler happens around 30%, it's going to be like 6 to 8 million opportunity we are talking about, and where electronics can play a vital role. So with that, I leave the floor, because the topic given to me is about the opportunities in the Indian space. I strongly believe India is a huge market and one of the largest market in top 5 in automobile. And this transition to EV will bring in new age technologies as well as innovative products to be made in India. Thank you very much and have a good day.
Thank you very much, Mahesh ji. I think that was really very, very crisp, and I think it has brought out so many issues, with respect to the policies. I think over the last, few years, we have been thinking that, the EV, space is moving, very slowly forward. But I see now that, with the FAME 2 and with the various policies, even this, PLI is very interesting, because overall, I think, the PLI what has been allocated, the fund is almost $20 billion. I believe it is 140,000 crores, which has gone into various PLIs, mostly for electronics, but a very large part is going into this into this battery space, which is advanced cell chemistry, and also for the automotive segment, which is yet to be announced, I believe. So I guess both will move in this direction, and this funding should really help us to take our EV initiative forward in this country. So I must thank you again for this wonderful presentation, and also you really stuck to your time, so we are very grateful for that. We will now move on to Mr. Paul Lin, who is here with us already. Mr. Paul Lin, welcome, sir, and thank you very much for joining us here. We are waiting to hear from you. Mr. Paul Lin is a senior consultant in Energy Company Limited, Geotech Energy Company, and he has been a director in R&D, sales and marketing in this company. Mr. Lin was a special assistant to the president in the TD High-Tech Energy Company Limited, and also VP of sales and marketing department in Arima Computer Company. So that is a very, very brief introduction to Mr. Lin. Sir, over to you for your presentation, please.
Okay.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
So gentlemen, you have our voice. It's okay. The voice you can hear. Okay. So the last day, I remember last February that at 15th Auto Expo in India. After that one, I think it's COVID-19, and I come back to Taiwan. I still keep contact with our Indian partner to go forward to this business between India and Taiwan. So where is my okay, so today I would like to share with you it's Taiwan perspectives on EV technology. Okay, next page, please. Okay, you can see this that is 2010. I'm the GoTech engineers. This company is co-founder, and now is consultant for this company from last the winter. So I would like to let you know that briefly about the company. Our company is a BMS technology development for that EV battery pack. So our first investor at that time is Supreme Electronics. It's a Taiwanese company that's engaged in semiconductor, especially Samsung's DRAM, and still is our major investors. A second investor, like 2017, is Dynapec Technology, also another Taiwanese company. That is a battery pack supplier and manufacturer of the laptop and portable PC and e-bike. Our company, that is 2010 at that time, I remember that is Tesla closed the Taiwan branch and factory and moved back to California in the States. That is because of President Obama's policy. And with that background, GoTech has our technology is derived from the related laptop PC and e-bike. So our first the battery pack, that is 722 voltages for e-scooter. Next page. Next page, please. Okay, you can see that our battery pack is assembly like the Tesla. The battery is cylindrical battery. That is seems like Tesla. It's our battery cell is from Panasonic and Samsung and the others. Okay, so so show up to the others things, please. Okay. Excuse me. I go back to here. Yes, thank you. So this is our battery special one is designed at this battery. We have the communication module, and that is for our easily to do the cloud management on BMS battery. So it means that our background is information technology applied to this the e-read battery. So that you can see our company, the trademark is cloud, but GoTech has been charging this the battery. Okay, thank you. Next page, please. Okay, show up the others. Okay, thank you. So we also designed the battery exchange station in the very beginning. It's roughly about 2013, and when battery there's the module one is IoT, the Internet of Things. Get the communication. There's when you go back to that exchange station, and then we can do that big data management. So keep that battery at the status of their health, for example, 30 or 50 or 80%. That is applied currently here in Taiwan. There's a Gogoro, the business model, battery exchange station. This one, you can see that there's a Gogoro, there's a business model that is, let's say in this way, they can the battery that is the owner of the scooter, and then if you can just rent have own that scooter, but separated you rent the battery, you do not need to own the battery, and go back to the exchange station to swap in that battery. So it's the business model like your mobile phone. So it means that you can take advantage of the service of the battery by renting the battery. Okay, next page. Besides that electric scooter here in Taiwan, the Taiwanese company, they also is sponsored by the government. It's because the electric is bust. You know that here in Taiwan, the total is more than 6,000 buses totally is in Taiwan. And it's going to be by 50% by the electric bus by 2025. And the target that is 2030 is by 100%, but totally is to replace these 600,000 buses by electric bus. So business model, business economic size is quite big. So there are roughly about 4 companies of the bus company and manufacturer for the electric bus. And this company, it's that we call it the e-bus pilot program. Like Teco, Daton, there is a motor and powertrain system, the provider for the company, and the other one like the REC Electric, and so are the other company like MSI or Electric Group as a onboard unit. So these company combined together, so that is going to bring about the varieties effort, and we call it the national team. That is for the electric bus. But here in Taiwan, not only the 6,000 bus is going to be replaced by electric, it's also from the domestic market here in Taiwan. It's going to be the export overseas market, like India or Indonesia or the others South American countries. So next page. Next page. Thank you. So electric bus, that is from the domestic market and then go to the overseas market. This is MIH's EV Alliance that is led by the Foxconn Foxconn is Hong Hai, so that is made in Hong Hai, MIH. It's different from that e-bus. It's from the a business model like Foxconn. It's OEM business for the their overseas customer like Apple, something like that. And this alliance is going to do that as, let's say in this way, it's treat like EV, like a mobile phone with 4-feeder. So it means that there's a mobile phone with 4-feeder that's become the EV. There's a real concept. Let's say Tesla, if it's Apple, like Apple, they have their own system, OS system, like Apple, the OS system. And MIH Alliance is going to be Android, different from the Tesla does. And this is open the open system. This open system, the setup, the roughly about this year, it's roughly about after thousands alliance company in this is alliance. So let's say in this way, once the MIH EV it's successful, let's go into provided the car maker with the open system like Android. They are provided to different mobile phone maker. So this is also one of Taiwan's EV technologies. And especially I want to emphasize that this MIH alliance is led by the software, background CTO. So there, this focus is not only the hardware, but also the software. It's very important. I want to emphasize. It means that the EV is not like a traditional internal combustion engine. It's let's say like a smartphone. It's a smarter mobility. Okay, and in the future, let's say the car is not only your it's the space for you, personal space for you, from your home to your office. So maybe let's say in this way, the mobile personal space. Okay, it could be make such kind of definition. It's there the ambition. Want to be the smart mobility for next generation. Okay, next page. And the other thing I want to let you know is that Taiwan, the chip industry, the semiconductor industry, it's roughly about 5 months when German ministerium, the future chapters with the energy, that Mr. Peter Altmaier wrote an email to our Taiwan, the MOEA, Madame Wang Meihua, urged that Taiwan semiconductor, especially that the TSMC, can be help the German automobile industry because of the chip shortage. So I think that here in Taiwan, because it's, for the past few months, we already speed up the semiconductor manufacture. But why is the chip set is shortage in Taiwan? Because it's last year, because of the COVID-19. So the first half of people working at home. So working at home, that it means that there's the car industry, they don't think that they want to have the car, the market is increase. But after that, you know, that is the second half of the last year, the demand from the car surged the demand. So the chipset, the shortage because working at home, so the PC and mobile phone, because of the 5G demand increased. Meanwhile, the car industry, their chipset is very customized, so it's not easy to manufacture. So European chipset maker like Infineon, NXP or ST Microelectronic, it's only in 10% production capacity. The others one like Korea Samsung, it's only focuses mainly in DRAM. So that is why the chipset is a shortage. So European company predict that if there's such kind of shortage, we are impacted at the automobile industry, less than that 90 billion euros, such kind of sales amount. Okay, so next page, please. It could be my last page. So for the past 3 years, GoTech, with this company, we set up the relationship with India company. There is an Indian company in Pune. We cooperated with them for the past 3 years and already set up the production line. Like the pictures, you can see roughly about 3,000 square meters space. So this space we can for the manufacture the EV battery pack up to 30,000 per year capacity. It's for 2-feeder and 3-feeder of the battery pack that is located in Pune. Okay, we transfer the BMS technology to this company, and then we give their technology, and they'll manufacture the battery pack for domestic market, and then combine the other possible thing like the motor and motor controller. That's bring about the powertrain. That is for in the very beginning, the marketing is for focused about electric scooter, electric motor, and e-trike. That is for rickshaw and auto. Not like Honghai and the TSMC. They are a very big company. GoTech Energy is a very small company. We cannot do great thing, but data companies with great ambition. We are like a small injection of that mRNA, the vaccine. Okay, try to trigger that immune reaction. That's like chain reaction to trigger the EV technology. That is can help the cooperation between the India and Taiwan. Okay, that's my presentation. Namaste. Thank you. 谢谢.
Thank you very much, Mr. Paul Lin. It's very interesting to know that you are already, operating from Pune, and you have a partner in Pune in India, which is really nice. And I think it's very encouraging for us. You may be a small company, but I think small is beautiful. While big is great, but I think small is beautiful, and small has the potential to become big and really contribute a lot. And the fact that you have that you have cast your die with India, that you have put your faith in India, and I'm sure that you will gain a lot from this, and you will also become a global company very soon. And we look forward to that, and we assure you that we will give you all our support through our friends in Taiwan. And while we are here, we will be very happy to give you whatever help we can, sir. Thank you so much, and our best wishes to you. This was really great and very, very, very encouraging for us. will now move to our next speaker, Mr. Atul Arya. Welcome, Mr. Arya. Mr. Arya is the head of Energy Systems Division of Panasonic India, and we'll be hearing from him on energy storage systems for the EV industry. I will briefly introduce you, sir. Mr. Arya is spearheading Panasonic's ambition to be a leader in the energy storage market in India and in other emerging countries. Mr. Arya has got very extensive and varied experience of more than 25 years in learning new technologies across diverse sectors such as energy storage and electric vehicle, for electric vehicles, lithium-ion batteries, and charging infrastructure, in the process industry, the power transmission and distribution. So this is really a very wide spectrum, but it is all related to energy and its distribution, which is very interesting, sir. Also, Mr. Arya has worked with global companies like Schneider, Siemens, and Alstom, which I think are the three icons in this area. Sir, it is great to have you here. I would also like to share that Mr. Arya holds a master's degree from the University of Delhi in 2006 and a bachelor's in engineering from the Netaji Subhash Institute of Technology in 1994. So with those brief words about your achievements and your background, I hand over to you, sir. Over to Mr. Arya.
Good morning, everyone. I hope you guys all can hear me. Let me first thank Elsina for organizing this forum where there is an interaction between Indian industry and Taiwanese industries is happening, and for choosing a topic which is really, really very important and talk of the town, talk of the world today, which is electric mobility and EV ecosystem. And I also would like to thank Institute of Information Industry of Taiwan to join this forum. And as Mr. Goel informed that the topic which I'm going to talk is energy storage system for EV industry. So primarily that's about batteries and related areas, but maybe I will talk a little bit more about in general opportunity which India as a country offers for this industry. So, first of all, I'm sure everybody knows we are a very, very large country of about 1.3 billion people and huge geography, which itself presents India as a very, very large market. And important point to note is that, as Indians, we are very, very quick to adopt new technology. We have been adopting technologies from across the world. Some recent example could be smartphone and internet. Today we are one of the largest market of smartphones, and internet penetration has been rising very, very quickly. So it just does not give an opportunity for smartphone and internet, but it also offers an opportunity to expand businesses into various other areas. Examples, again, from the mobile phone, there is a mobile commerce which is thriving. There is online purchasing, gaming, streaming, payments, online education, and whatnot. So it really expands the market. Therefore, there is opportunities extremely, extremely large and huge. And I think Taiwanese industries will definitely gain by coming over to this kind of a market. Specifically on EV, we all know that we have a large burden of oil imports, pollution. India has a commitment to reduce pollutions. So there is a large amount of traction and push from government. The government and then also private industry has been pushing. I am sure many of you or most of you have noticed very, very large announcements being made as early as yesterday for investing about $10 billion into clean energy. This is a private enterprise which has announced, and this is over a short period of next 3 years. So this is going to, this is one of the precursors of what is going to happen to clean energy and clean mobility in India in general in next 3 to 5 years. Specifically on electric mobility, India has been making a lot of progress in last few years. But if you really see the current trends, it has really now become ready to move into the next phase of growth. There is a strong push from government of India on both sides, on demand side and on supply side. On demand side, the recent changes which have been made to FAME 2 policy are very, very encouraging. In fact, the subsidies outlay itself is about $1.4 billion. And then for each electric two-wheeler, for example, you could be getting a subsidy of around $200 per kilowatt hour, which is equivalent to the size of the cost of the battery, and maybe in some cases more than the cost of the battery. So, which means that the price parity by this subsidy between IC engine and the electric engine vehicle two-wheeler is already almost there. And then on top of it, there are state subsidies which are also equivalent to, in some cases, $100 per kilowatt hour. So in some sense, I think that's a big boost to this industry which is happening. And this is going to give a rise to a large amount of investments into this area. Apart from two-wheelers, there is a three-wheeler tuk-tuk, which is globally known as tuk-tuk, is a very, very promising market, which is being used not just for transportation, but also for deliveries. And I think electric cars and electric buses are also, their buses are also again being pushed by this policy very, very strongly. So on the supply side also, we have this production linked incentive PLI scheme, which is again promising a very large outlay for battery manufacturing. I think that's the right step by Government of India in this direction. Because in the renewable space, we had solar push, but pretty much everything was manufactured and imported from across the world, but not in India. Whereas in this cell chemistry thing, government has taken a very, very proactive action. And there is again a very, very important ecosystem which is likely to develop, because there is, in this policy fine print, there is a 60% value addition which is desired and demanded by the policy by the investee companies. Therefore, there is a very, very large opportunities for many companies to come to India and start manufacturing various subcomponents of cells, for example, separators, for example, electrolytes, cathodes, anodes, and packing material, and even the manufacturing plant and machinery equipment. Therefore, there is a very, very large amount of investment which is likely to happen, and this is very favorable. And then also there are state governments which are giving many favorable policies on infrastructure, on power, land, etc. So I think this is very, very encouraging. So apart from the cell and battery, there is also many subcomponents within the electric vehicle. We heard from the previous speaker about chips and semiconductors which are being used. There is also a large amount of software component which is very, very heavy in electric vehicles, and all the electric vehicles today are connected. So beyond the vehicle, also there is an ecosystem which is required. Of course, Avdeshji will talk about charging later in the as the next speaker. But apart from charging, also even vehicles are connected, and there are many applications, many software which are to be sitting on these vehicles, and this is going to be again a very large opportunity. And we already see a large amount of startups in the country, and there is a room for Taiwanese companies to come over to India. Some examples in this two-wheeler space, just to put the things in context and perspective. Ola Electric, which is part of SoftBank funded Ola, has already started a construction of a large two-wheeler plant in near Chennai in Tamil Nadu, and they have a target to produce 2 million two-wheelers in next 1 year or so. And then they want to ramp it up to 10 million two-wheelers and make it a global supply hub. And 10 million is a very, very large ambition. India's total two-wheeler market is about 20 million vehicles, and this seems to be a very, very large ambition. And if this really happens, even a part of it, it's a very large market which is available, and they need a lot of ecosystem partners to come and join them. We know about Ather Energy, which is there, and we also know. In fact, Hero and Gogoro, which is a Taiwanese company, very recently announced a partnership about battery swapping network. So battery swapping itself is a very huge opportunity for Indian electric vehicle market, which can present opening not just for batteries, but also a plethora of services which can be attached to it. It could be also an outlet for a retail along with the battery swapping. So there is a huge amount of opportunity in this one, this area. So every opportunity presents itself along with certain challenges also. So probably I'll talk a little bit about challenges. At this point of time, one of the key challenges which you will hear from the next speaker is about the insufficient charging, or let's say not synchronized charging with respect to the growth. And it could be because of geographies where vehicles are plying and charging not being there, etc. So there are many challenges which are there, and I think each challenge presents a business opportunity one more time. There are limited options today. If you want to buy an electric vehicle, especially in the car space, there are 2 or 3 vehicles. Even in the two-wheeler space, the options are not yet there, which are matching to the customer's expectation. So there is a room to add high performance and good quality electric two-wheelers and three-wheelers in this market. Then there is a very high dependency on imports. As of today, we import almost 90% of our cells for the batteries, for example, to be made in India. Even for BMS, we import a very large amount, perhaps 85 to 90% from various sources in China, Taiwan, and various countries. I think there is an opportunity to work in this area and reduce this dependence, and that's what is alignment with the government's objectives. And one area which is typically missed out is the challenges which integration of electric vehicle will pose to the distribution grid, which many people forget about, because electric vehicle charging or electric vehicle battery swapping will put a lot of pressure on the distribution network which we have in various parts of the country, and they are not geared up, which also presents a large opportunity for the whole industry to find out solutions to mitigate this risk, whether it is by way of virtual power plants, by way of integrating, by way of synchronizing, by way of adding more renewable in distributed manner, and could be another strategy. And we have a clear case of not just asking various companies to come and show us how they have been able to do it in their own countries. For example, Taiwan has a very thriving battery swapping and charging infrastructure for two-wheelers. So we have a case to learn here from their experience how to mitigate this risk. So these are some of the challenges, and apart from this, there will be again a demand on the renewable integration along with our grid network. And I think that also presents a large opportunity, that how do we integrate in a smooth and a very simple manner so that our grid disturbances are minimized. I think this is where I would like to stop, and once again thank Elsina and III for joining into this forum. And I think, like I mentioned, the opportunity is huge and humongous. There are large actions being taken by government, policy, industry, startups, large industries, private investment. And I think there is a very, very apt case for India as a country to invite Taiwanese industry, not just for manufacturing, but also in their knowledge and wisdom which they have gained by taking big leaps in the adoption of electric mobility. And I'm sure Elsina is committed to assist all the Taiwanese industry to make an entry into India for the next phase of growth. And thank you very much for patient listening.
Thank you very much, Atulji. I think that was very interesting. I would I think one big question that we still have is what is because I believe the battery opportunity is really huge in an EV. I've heard that almost 30 to 40% of the value of an EV is the battery itself, or maybe even more. So I mean, I don't have a number for that, but I know it's huge. So I guess it is an opportunity which will go into tens of thousands of crores, or maybe even more than that as the industry grows. And then we have this issue of swapping of batteries and all that, and creating the charging infrastructure, etc. So I think we still have a ways to go, but I guess we are moving ahead. And so things look good and positive, and let's also hope for the best. And we also hope that COVID will be kind and will leave our shores soon, because that is one thing which is really holding us back. But sir, thank you very much. I think it was extremely nice to have you on our forum. Last time I think we did miss you, but this time we were lucky. So very great to have you with us. And please stay on for as long as you can. I think we still have some very good speakers coming up. Next, I will be inviting Mr. Jim Chen, the India Senior Sales Representative of Delta Electronics, Taiwan. Delta Electronics is actually playing a major role in India in the electronics field, and it has some nice facilities here. I believe their headquarters are in Gurgaon, and I've been in touch with some of the very senior people. So it's really great to have Delta in India. And to be contributing towards the electronics ecosystem of India. Mr. Chen is actually working for the India market, for Delta. He has a rich 15-year experience in the industry. Mr. Chen has also worked for the PCB industry for 9 years with Nanya printed circuit boards, and for last 5 years he's been with Delta Electronics. He's managing the India business operation and is responsible for the EV business development. Thank you very much, Mr. Chen, for joining us, and we look forward to your views on this subject, which is very interesting, which is the potential for collaboration with Indian companies and export markets. Thank you very much, and over to you.
Yes, thanks for Fernand to give us the opportunity to have some sharing. I'm Jim Chen, in charge for the India operations. So, okay. Yes. So my topic actually is talk about the potential for the collaboration with the India companies and export markets. So these portions are based on our experience, what we did, and also what opportunity we can working together from the Taiwan and also the India. So next, move to the next slide. So before we start, I will have a short introduction about the Delta Electronics. Delta Electronics is the world's leader in the switching power supplies and DC buses fans. So we are $9 billion US dollar sales revenue company, and contribute by the left side of the product what we are offering to the market, from the telecom power, industrial automations, passive magnetic components, networking, visual display, data center, renewable energy, and EV charging infrastructure. So we have all this is electronics experience. So how this experience, convert to the opportunity for the two countries, how to working together. So moving to the next slide. So my portions will be covered these three topics. First, actually, is the market overview, and also the second one actually is the potential for the collaboration of the Taiwan and also the India. And the third one is more important actually is the export market. Since India actually is very good in the manufacturing and also the service hub, how we can working together to target on for the Asia Pacific, Middle East, South America, and Europe market. This is the three portion which is I'm going to present later on. So let's move into the next slide. Okay, yeah, this is the overall the global low voltage electric vehicle market. So if you look at the 2023, there are around 39 million quantity of the low voltage electric vehicle in the demand in the market. And if you look at the Asia demand, for the Asia demand, actually almost 32 million demand, based on the 39 millions. And the main requirement actually is coming from the electric scooter. There are around 30 million quantity of the demand, especially is electric scooter. So just now, as I heard, actually India having like a 6 million to 10 million is almost having like a 1/3 of the market actually is located in India. So based on this huge market, how we can collaboration together? Can you help me to go to the next slide? Yeah, what kind of the collaborations of Taiwan and India we can sitting together and working together to enter the EV market. So first, we go to the next slide first. Can you have, yeah. So first, actually, we have to see the ecosystems. Actually, if you look at this, I'm just use a very simple wording, but give you a very brief idea. So if you look at the India, the whole market, actually India having a very strong supply chain in automations and a very strong ecosystems. From the clockwise raw material and to the metal processing, to the motor manufacturing, this is the strong part, which is India having is already there. It means the ecosystem is having a very full supply chain and also the OEM in this field. Can you moving to the next slide? So how about the Taiwan? So actually Taiwan is an electronics component and semiconductor islands. So actually from the raw material to the electronics and also we having a lot of experience electronics engineer like EV controller technology and also the battery pack technology. So these two actually is very important for the India and Taiwan. Both of us, we have to work together to target on the EV market. I will use the next slide to give you a summary idea what we can do to what we can develop. Can you move into the next slide? Okay, yeah. I'm using this as a e-scooter as a diagrams to give you the idea where we can target on. So actually, from the Taiwan portions, actually we having a strong in the, let's say, the charging station, battery swapping stations, home charger, DC-DC module, which is a for the car component here, onboard battery charger, motor drive, and also the traction motor. From the India side, actually, IC engine actually is having a very strong supply chain in India. So from the VCU display, the mechanical parts, we have a reducer, traction motor, and the body parts like frames, scooter exterior component, exterior body, material, and view. All this is actually is the elements and the accessory for the EV if you need the complete package. So we can select and which one actually is a strong part from the Taiwan and which part actually is from the India. And I put the battery in the middle. Actually, as just now mentioned, battery actually is the main contributions for the cost for the EV e-scooter. So this actually, I will use the next slide to have a more detailed explanation. So, I'm using this slide to give you the overall summary from the left to the right. I'm from the left to the right, from the material point of view, components point of view, system subsystem point of view, and system integrations developments point of view. And the last one actually assembly plans. So let's focus on the material left hand side, the upstream. So the blue color, which I highlighted here, actually this is which India is a very strong part in the raw material, easy to get it in the India. But for the battery material and automobile electronics material, this is the lacking in the India market right now. So that means Taiwan and the India, we can contribute the strong part for the material portions for the for them from the material point of view. In the components point of view, actually, let's say the drive, battery module, DC-DC, and battery charger. And this is a portion actually which is also without Taiwan actually having a full experience for this. And I'm also, there is some overlapping. That means in India, what we understand that they also have some of the startup company or some of the OEM vehicle, they are also enter it. So basically, from the components modules, this point of view, both Taiwan and India, it can be based on the which part we can select and co-working together. For the subsystems, actually, let's say the power systems, transmission systems, battery charging systems, and also the battery exchange systems. This is just now, as you mentioned, actually in Taiwan, we have a good experience in the motor EV manufacturer power systems, transmission systems, and also the battery swapping systems. That is the strong part of the Taiwan, but it needs a lot of IT people to develop for this. So we can rely on the India, the IT, engineering resources to working together. So from the system integration development, this is also a very, very important one. Since India actually is the IT industry is very strong. And just now, as mentioned, Ola is going to promote their e-vehicle into the market, and there are around 10 million e-vehicle to be manufacturing in future. So the share economy also is a part of the EV, which is need to be developed. And this one, this is the strong part, which is India is strong part. India is very strong in these portions. So the last items, the e-scooter vehicle. E-scooter vehicle means actually assembly. So since there are a lot of IC engines manufactured in India, so they are going to convert to the EV, or the factory production line is ready there. So that is and also the having a very competitive in the components and mechanical portions, which is can be easily to get it and with a competitive pricing. So from this summary, I'm just give you the overall from the mechanical collaborations. Actually, we can also migrate to the electronics and also the software collaboration. So can you moving to the next slide? So I'm using this few slides only for the global market. Actually, since India actually is have a very competitive manufacturing and also the service hubs, I'm use the next slide to give you the idea and also how we can using these resources to target on the global market. So if you look at the geography location of the India, actually India actually is sitting in the middle of the Asia and also in between of the Africa, Middle East, Europe markets, and South America. So if India using this is a very good benefit, not only for the India OEMs. Actually, if Taiwanese OEM would like to target on for all the Europe or the Middle East markets, actually there can be a collaboration of the two companies. Maybe it's a joint venture
or maybe it's a technical transfer this kind of the business model using the India the resources to target on those country which is I'm showing in this slide. I'm using the last slide to give you the summary. Okay, so this is the 6 elements which is very important if we like to let using India as a manufacturing hub or the service hub to support the global market. From the left hand side, right now India having a very good resources from the material, and also having good resources in the manufacturing. So the cost actually also is very competitive. That is very important for the Taiwan or the India to go to the overseas market. And the second one, actually, due to the strong and also the large market in domestic, the distribution actually is also distribution network also very important to continue to push the EV to the market. And India actually is a English native speaker environment. So the service center and also the education center also can be set up in India. So the top side, this is about the so-called the manufacturing and also the sales service. And about the after sales service, actually, since India located in the center of all the states, so India also can become the global hub and spare part hub. The global hub and spare part hub, this portion actually play a very important locations. Actually, EV, if we want have a success EV promotions, all these 6 elements are very important. Actually, this kind of the elements is helping to convert or to convince the end user to convert to from IC engines to the EV to EV this vehicle. So I just use a very simple wording, but have a very brief idea. This is the opportunity for the Taiwan and also the India for the all the company. We can collaboration and we can select which portions we can working together. That's all for my short introductions. Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Jim Chen. As you have written, Dhanyavad, it's very nice way of writing Hindi in the end of your program. I think you are getting well settled in India, and we are very happy, to see that. It was a very nice, presentation, and you are a young leader, so I guess you have long years to go and to contribute towards this industry. And we sincerely look forward that you stay in India for a long time and you establish Delta as a large player in India. What was also very interesting I found was that you see that the opportunity in India is in diverse areas. For example, you mentioned manufacturing, distribution, as a service center, as a global hub, as a spare parts hub. I think that's very, very interesting. So we look forward to being in touch with you, Mr. Chen, and to helping you in whatever you are doing in India. Thank you very much. We now come to Mr. Abhesh Jha. Sir, welcome to this forum, and we are very grateful that you've accepted our invitation. Mr. Jha is the Vice President Charge and Drive for Fortrum Charge and Drive, which is a Finnish company, I believe, and it's basically a company which is in clean energy. And you have embarked, upon a journey in India to transform mobility in India by providing energy as a service to electric vehicles. So this is something very interesting, and we'll be looking forward to hearing from you on this. Mr. Jha has a very interesting background, more than 25 years of experience in the energy industry, spanning across government and the private sector. Mr. Jha brings with him a first-hand experience in policy formulation, strategic planning, general management, business development, so on and so forth. So I think it's a very varied experience, sir, that you have in the private as well as in the government sector, and I'm sure this is going to be a great a great value to your company. Mr. Avdesh Jha is a civil engineering graduate, and he holds a master's in business administration for working managers from IIM Lucknow. So, with those few words, sir, I welcome you, and we look forward to hearing from you.
Thank you, Mr. Raju. Okay, so since Fortum might not be known to many people in the audience, so I would take a couple of minutes to introduce who we are. So Fortum, as you can see, FORTUM. So this is a Finnish company, rather energy utility company, which is having the energy generations right now. But we were into the distribution and transmission, and this is essentially a government company in the Finland. So at some point of time, we were the government company like the PGCIL or into the transmission and the distribution company. So we divested that one. But right now we are into hydro generation, we are into the nuclear, we are into solar, we are into wind, as well as the interesting another aspect is that we are also into the battery recycling. And we have our own plants in Finland where we recycle close to more than 80% of the rare earth materials like lithium, cobalt and all. And then we supply this to the cell manufacturers located currently in Europe. So obviously we have a plan subsequently to expand to the Asian market as well, particularly to Indian market. But right now it is located in Europe and serving to the European market. And why I say that the battery recycling, because battery recycling is something which is very, very essential for the Indian EV market as well, because what I understand, from the EV adoption point of view, that India has taken the step at a very interesting time. The reason being, when we started, world had already moved almost by a decade. So the advantage with India is that we have all the learnings from those adoptions, and we can start and we can adopt or adapt those learnings into our own policy framework and the business models. So from that point of view, India is poised at a very interesting point where from it can take off very quickly. Unlike the other countries which has taken 10 years, 15 years, India can catapult into the mass market of the EV in next 3 to 4 years. That's very much doable. In this particular sessions, I would like to give an overview that on the EV charging infrastructures, what is the India's policy framework, where are we, and then what are the business opportunity available in the EV charging infrastructure. So I would start where Atul had referred to, that the Indian consumers currently are not having access to the good product, or I would say the limited product, and consumer is an important element if the EV adoption has to happen. And for having a good product, obviously then the entire electric vehicle is driven by the electronics and the power electronics. So I think that is an area where Taiwan clearly has the advantage, because Taiwan is known for the electronics. So since India has now started moving on this EV path, and there would be a lot of products need would be there, considering the huge market base in India. So it throws itself a huge opportunity for both Indian and the Taiwanese business and the companies. But in the charging infrastructure space, also it plays it throws opportunity for huge opportunity for manufacturing of the charger itself. And before I delve into that, what would be the size of that opportunity? let's understand that India are having the two-wheelers, three-wheelers, and four-wheeler markets. Unlike European and the US market, where it is dominated by the four-wheeler, India is dominated by the two-wheelers, a huge number of the two-wheeler market. And incidentally, government has also put a lot of emphasis on adoption of the two-wheelers. But I would differentiate the two things, because the charging infrastructure requirement for two-wheelers and three-wheelers is entirely different than the charging requirement for the four-wheeler passenger vehicles. So in the two-wheelers and three-wheeler segment, particularly in the commercial segment, the battery swapping would be playing an important role. And if the battery swapping has to play an important role, it means the supply of the battery along with the BMS, has to play an important role. So that is a huge opportunity. And currently, as far as I understand, none of the Indian manufacturers of the on the OEM side, I'm talking about, has come out with the product which is compatible with the fast charging of the two-wheelers itself. There are a couple of products, the niche products on the proto, they have their own proprietary systems. But then that brings the huge opportunity, because that if someone can design the product which can be charged fast at a faster rate, that will open a huge opportunity for public charging in the two-wheelers and three-wheeler space as well, apart from the battery swapping itself. But on the four-wheeler passenger vehicle segment, because that is the segment, when it makes tractions, it makes a lot of noise, and if it falls, that also it makes a lot of noise. So I think the four-wheeler passenger vehicle segment is where the the battery swapping probably is not very doable solutions. Probably the OEM would not be happy with that. Even the consumer will not be very much enthused for the battery swapping in there. But so apart from the battery which is fitted in the vehicle, for the charging infrastructure, that is the charging pole, that's a huge market. And why this is important in India, in Indian country, that we need to have a public charging network, because even in the urban cities, most of the people do not have access to the dedicated parking. So obviously they are parking at the road which is not authorized, so they will not be having access to the commuted chargers. So they will require some community charging or public charging, where they can go and then plug their cars and then charge it. So and then the huge network of the chargers brings the visibility, that brings the confidence, and that brings the adoption. And that's where the manufacturer will be more than happy to roll out their product. So in terms of the numbers, if I take a visibility for next 10 years, it is expected that we'll be requiring around 2 to 3 million public charging points, or rather 2 to 3 million charging points for four-wheeler passenger vehicles only. Now, what does it mean? Even if you consider that 50% is charged at home, which as per me is a very high number, because we do not have that much of dedicated parking. And another aspect is that it will bring another problem on the grid, because if everybody start connecting, having a separate additional load at the home, that will overload the grid substantially. So if you have a larger public charging, even if we consider 50%, we envisage that an investment of around $10 to $12 billion would be the requirement in next 10 years, just to meet the requirement of these 10 years. And beyond that, because by 2030, the EV will be the mainstream, because there will be a parity with the ICE vehicles, and the operating cost is 25 to 30% of the existing petrol and diesel prices, which is likely to go up. So in that situations, the opportunity for the EV charging infrastructure will be multiplying many-fold, going forward. So how do you cater to that one? So currently, if you see the current position in India, we have hardly few manufacturers of the charging infrastructure, basically the charging or EVSE, especially of the high power charging capacity, so let's say 50 kilowatt or 30 kilowatt charger on the DC side, very few manufacturers. And those chargers are also not, I would say, as a charge point operator, I can say that these are not very futuristic. These are just meeting this types of requirement, whereas the future requirement would be that the charging equipment should be itself sufficient to sense the car and then allow the charging. So I'm talking the automated charging, because already there is an OCPP standards for that one. So the charger has to be smart enough to identify the car and allow the car to be connected and the payment transactions to happen. If some person wants to do the transactions, they need not be registering with the existing charge point operator. There should be, I would say, the credit card or the swiping machine fitted inbuilt in the charger itself, where someone can go and someone can swipe the card, swipe the RFID, and everything is seamless. So anybody can walk in and they can do it as they are doing the the petrol stations. So and we need to understand that why the people have got habituated to getting the petrol station and then getting their tanks filled in 5 minutes or 7 minutes. So we have to bring that kind of a technology, and for that those kind of charging manufacturers are currently manufacturers are not producing, and those will be the requirement of the future. So that is something which probably throws a lot of opportunities for the manufacturers to bring a high quality product, and obviously it has to be at a reasonable price. I'm not saying that it has to be at a very low price, but at a reasonable price which can still bring the overall service cost for the end consumer at an affordable price. It should not go beyond 25 to 30% of the petrol and the gas, in terms of driving per kilometer range. So that is a kind of, and that can happen only through the innovations, only can happen through the use of electronics, automations. And, I personally believe that Taiwan as a country itself, is very much suited for that one, because they have in their DNA on these kind of innovations on the high technology, on the electronics, those which will make these innovations possible. The another area in the charging, which Atul had referred to on the V2G, the vehicle to grid, obviously because India is now getting their grid not only greener, but they're smarter as well. And as more and more EV is getting adopted, it will require the grid to get integrated well with the electric vehicle, because electric vehicle can absorb the entire additional load which is coming in the surplus time. But then how can it be thrown back to the grid at the point when they need it, or maybe at the peak time? So that is another technology in the charger itself, which requires to be offered in the Indian market. And Indian market will be, I would say, early adopter for that technology, because of the obvious reason of that our, electrical infrastructure, the distribution, they do not have that much of financially good health, which can support to expand the or augment the network drastically overnight. So these kind of technological products through the EVSE, through a good manufacturing base, can probably help adopt the EV, and that is the whole, I would say, the landscape in terms of the manufacturing availability on the charging infrastructure. As far as a CPO, as a charge point operator, as I said, that as a charge point operator, there is a business, but I don't know whether Taiwan companies are interested to come to India and set up the charging station and offer the services to the end consumer. But that's again a huge market, because if India has to achieve, let's say, 30% of the vehicle on electric, it means we'll be selling almost 3 million, cars, and then that is the kind of infrastructure we'll be requiring. So that's a huge opportunity on the service side as well. But apart from the service side, and on the service side, the government has come out with a good policy frameworks. On the charging infrastructure, setting up a charging infrastructure is completely de-licensed. You don't require to have any license or any permission from the government. That's number one. Then the government has also, given the GST preference on the supply of the charging equipment. That's only 5%. So if the manufacturer supplying the charging equipment, this will attract only 5%. In terms of the preferential electrical tariff for the EV charging stations, most of the states regulator has come out with a preferential price, which is slightly lower than the I would say the existing commercial price. So this is another incentive which the government has given on the policy front. And on the product side, for the service, to avail the services, a lot of companies has already started, like MG has started, Hyundai is having their product in India, Mercedes has launched their product. Audi has launched their product. Now Tesla has already announced, and their test vehicles can be spotted in India. Recently, BYD has also started testing their product in India, kind of an SUV. Then, we have Renault, Nissan. These are all eyeing up for the Indian market. So I believe that in next 3 to 4 years, there you will be more than 100 models of the EV on the passenger vehicle segment, which will be available to be serviced through this EV charging infrastructure. So this is the complete landscape for the opportunity, and I think this is the time when any company, they are interested in the EV charging infrastructure, they should evaluate India as a potential market, and in next 3 to 4 years it will just take off like a hockey stick. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Avdesh ji. I think what you spoke about was not only very interesting, but also something which is not, very easily understood by the common person or even the user of an automobile, because I think the entire infrastructure issue, so many millions and millions of charging points, how do you, pay for that energy, where does that energy come from, etc. I think it is really a challenge for India. And maybe we will be making very good EVs and very good batteries, but charging, I think it looks like it will take a longer time to really settle down as a service which will be available seamlessly for us. I see that in many of the societies, at least in the NCR region, now charging points are being set up by the by these societies, and people pay for them there. And I think that may be possible because it's a sort of controlled environment. But I think for the country at large, it's definitely going to be a big issue. And we are very happy that Fortune is taking a lead in this and trying to solve this problem for the country. We wish you all the best, sir, and thank you very much for participating in this. With that, we have actually come to the conclusion of the three the three main speakers from India and two speakers from Taiwan. And I think we have an excellent perspective. I mean, the quality of the discussion has been really extraordinary, with experts from each field coming here. So I hope that many people, I believe almost 150 or 170 participants are there in this program, which we can't see because we are on the page for the speakers, so we only see ourselves. But there is a very good participation going on, and we are very encouraged by that. So thank you so much. Before we conclude, I would like to call upon my immediate past president, Mr. Amrit Manwani, to kindly give his closing remarks and to address all of us. And I would also like to thank Triple I for all the efforts that they have put in. We have also got support from TIMA and from TCA and from TPCA. So as my colleagues, I think it is necessary for me to say a very big thanks to them, and of course especially to Triple I and to Stanley and his team. Johnson and Justin, who have also helped a lot, but they are not here right now. I don't see Mr. Manwani. I think is it that there is some internet problem. Mr. Amrit Manwani, I will in the meantime introduce him. I hope he is able to reconnect. Sorry, I have just requested my colleague, to call Mr. Manwani. I think he may have had a problem with the, with his internet. But I will, take the opportunity to briefly introduce him in the meantime. Mr. Manwani is the immediate past president of Elsina, and he's the chairman of the Sahasra Group. He is a very, very interesting personality. He has been, a technocrat, and now he's, converted into an entrepreneur, and I believe he has more than 40 years of experience with the industry and with some of the iconic names such as Larsen and Toubro and General Electric, and he's held some very senior positions there. Mr. Manwani now runs a flourishing business which is growing very rapidly. He has got a PCB manufacturing plant. He does EMS activity. Their group also does, LED lights, and they also have a very nice, they have a very strong, tie-up with the MyTech group of Taiwan. So that is there is a brief background about Mr. Manwani, and I see that he has joined now. Welcome, sir. Welcome to the forum. I think we lost you for a minute. We are looking forward to your closing remarks. Can you please, conclude the session for us, sir? Mr. Manwani, you may like to close your video and just speak. That may be better.
Okay, can you hear me now?
We can hear you, sir. If you have a problem, please close your video. Then maybe it will be better, because sometimes your voice is breaking and your connection doesn't seem to be very good. So we are all eagerly waiting to hear from you. Yeah.
Well, somehow, whenever it comes to for me to speak, my connection gives way. So that's my bad luck. But I hope you can hear me now clearly. Well, firstly, thank you very much. Electronics meet. I must thank both Triple I as well as Elsina for bringing the entrepreneurs on the side. This very interesting, promising, growing electric
So your voice is breaking. Your voice is breaking. You may like to close your video.
Starting with Mr. Paul Jim Chen. Hello?
Yeah, so can you close your video? Your voice is breaking. We are not able to hear you properly. It will be nice if you close your video. It may work better.
Okay. Okay. Can you hear me now?
Yes, sir, please. Much better.
Okay. So as I was saying, it was nice to hear Mr. Paul Lin and Jim Chen from Taiwan. They gave us insight for, what are the trends that are emerging in this EV market. So, they shared with us a wealth of knowledge that they have acquired over the last few years. And it's good to know that they are looking at India in a very positive way and looking at participating in the Indian market, not only for the India market, but also exploring opportunities of exporting from India. Likewise, thanks to the Indian speakers, Mr. Mahesh Babu, Mr. Atul Arya, and also Mr. Avdesh Jha. They gave us, the various challenges. Firstly, establishing the India demand. Also, highlighting the various challenges in terms of not only the technologies, but also in terms of infrastructure. But the good news is that the government is pushing this electric vehicle business very aggressively through various schemes and as well as through infrastructural spend. That's a good news. But what I would like to say that apart from the passenger vehicles, there is potential in the commercial vehicles also, particularly the small commercial vehicles, which are really the mainstream of freight transportation within the country, like the small e-rickshaws, three-wheelers, which transport a lot of goods, particularly for home deliveries, etc. And similarly, some other commercial vehicles which are not very large, but they carry freight. Apart from that, there is a new emerging market in e-bicycles. So that would also be a very huge market that we could perhaps address and look at it. But clearly the India market is very huge in this sector. It's the third largest market, no matter which way you look at it. And I would see that in the next decade or so, there would be a potential for at least 50 to 100 joint ventures that could take place, successful joint ventures between Indian companies and Taiwanese companies. Considering the fact that Taiwanese have always led in terms of electronic technologies and storage technologies. But similarly, from the Indian point of view, the Indian entrepreneur looks at harnessing the local talent, A, in terms of low cost labor, B, in terms of the engineering talent that is huge in the country. We churn out more than probably 100,000 engineers every year, and they are available at low cost. The engineering talent is available for low cost, whether it is software development or hardware development. So there is a synergy that we both could, both the country, the entrepreneurs from both the countries, whether they are startup companies or established medium-sized companies or large-sized companies that are want to participate in this market. There is a huge potential. As Mr. Goel mentioned, who are working in India, the large Taiwanese companies like Foxcons and Delta, of course, but there are other medium-sized companies. He mentioned about MyTech, joining hands with us, but there are other companies also who have come. By the way, Taiwanese are definitely looking at India in a very positive way. I would, here point out two, electronic clusters where Taiwanese have participated in a big way. One is a Taiwanese cluster in Greater Noida, where companies like Foxlink and Winbond and MyTech Sahastra joint venture has taken place. So there is an electronic manufacturing cluster that has been co-developed by Taiwanese TEMA as well as Indian companies. Likewise, Elsina has a cluster which is operational already. There are 3 or 4 companies already operational there, and we have another 50 acres of land where companies from Taiwan could participate through a joint venture or 100% as a Taiwanese company. So we can offer you, Elsina can offer you a platform for quick starting a venture by yourself or a joint venture with an Indian company. So, I would like to summarize, firstly, thanking, III for taking the lead to organize this electronics meet, and of course, to the entire team of Elsina. But, what I would like to say is here's a great opportunity in the electrical vehicle space, not only in terms of hardware manufacturing, but also in terms of the infrastructure spending, where government of India is giving lots of incentives. So over a period of next 10 to 15 years, we would be able to participate if we work together in developing an ecosystem which would go a long way in making the two countries actually the leading hub for manufacturing of electric vehicles and exporting them all over the world. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Those are very nice, closing remarks and very positive, and especially about the clusters and the ecosystem which is coming up. As we close and we thank everybody, I would, just ask, Stanley and also, Pareshji, if you would like to make some, concluding remark, just, to say thank you and to say, bye to everybody.
Okay, I think I'll just quickly do that. This almost 2 hours of very interesting discussions, information sharing, and exciting news for Indian EV industry has, I'm sure, given a lot of opportunity and inputs to our participants who are patiently listening to all the esteemed speakers. So I would like to thank all the participants for the same, for registering and being part of this wonderful webinar. Elsina promotes Indian manufacturing industry in electronic segment from component to finished goods, and we look forward to your active participation in near future. Thank you all the esteemed speakers and my team at Elsina colleagues, including Rajuji, for hosting and doing a wonderful job for this event. Thank you, everyone. Have a wonderful day. Seshe.
Thank you. Thank you. Stanley.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Right, Stanley. Would you like to say something, before you conclude? Just Nice smile and a goodbye is good.
Now, I want to thank all the participants and all the good friends from Elsina for participating in this very interesting event. And we all learned a lot from both sides. And I believe there are many opportunities, potential in front of us. So let's get to work together. Thank you.
有啊，我放在里面啊。反正我刚不小心用你们的那个账号登进去了。
Thank you.
Bye bye. Bye bye.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. Thank you, everybody, sir. Bye bye. Bye bye, Mr. Chen. Bye bye, Mr. Lin. Bye bye.
Bye bye. Thank you.
Bye, Stanley. Bye. Thank you.
Bye bye. Thank you.